this once. And I want to
subscribe.
Car D Kaizoku.
This video is sponsored by Card Market, Europe's largest online marketplace for trading card games. This video is sponsored by Sleeve Chief. There's a major restock coming for a lot of their popular sleeves, and they're going to be releasing a new Enel, Dawn sleeve, and Holo sleeve as well. Use code CARDKaizoku for 5% off your order. Let's take a look at tournament performance in OP07 and the price of decks now for a tournament ready deck, right? Tournament level topping deck. I'm only looking at top 16s. We're going to look at all the regionals that have happened in OP07. I figured now's a good time since it's about like a month and some change away until OP08 releases. So yeah, let's take a look at the meta. I do see the question asked a lot about how much a meta deck costs, especially from people who are like new to the game, just trying to switch over from another game, wanting to know how much to invest. For some reason that gets asked a lot, but I literally created like a dashboard that has all that information and more. So I don't know, people aren't aware that I have this, people aren't referencing it. So hopefully this video will change that, right? If you have a friend who's wanting to get into the game and they want like a reference on how much a deck costs, please do reference them to this video. And if you're running what you're seeing on screen, it's my market review dashboard. It tracks card prices and tournament performance and expected value, and like it trends it over time too. I have almost a year's worth of data now. It's a personal project I started, but it kind of ballooned into this giant dashboard here that has a lot of cool features in it. If you want access to it, I only grant it if you're a market tier patron on my Patreon. Otherwise, you just wait for me to make these kind of videos with it. Okay, with that preamble out of the way, let's take a look at tournament performance, which should already be on screen. So I don't know if you already glanced it ahead of time. Spoilers. So we can see from all the 07 regionals so far, there are 14 unique leaders that make up top 16s from all these regionals. That I think that makes this the most diverse meta so far, which is great news. This is what everyone's been asking for, and we get it. So good job to us. But there's like a caveat, right? Prior to this, all the regionals were either like concentrated in like a couple cities or online. It is now the first time that they're doing like local store regionals, where it's a lot smaller, but they're localized to different states and cities and stuff. Right, in the past, all the strong players would go to the same city and play in the same tournament, but now everyone has like little pockets that they can develop different metas in. So that might be another reason why we see so many different leaders show up in the top 16s here. But yeah, with that context in mind, it looks like the deck with the most top ones is Bonnie and Enel. They have 3 each. Under that is Nami, and under that is Red Purple Law and Lucci and Gecko Moria. So Nami has as many tops as Red Purple Law, Lucci, and Moria. Moria is still S tier, just as I predicted in my tier list. I don't know, people were dogging me saying that Moria is like old news, he's not good anymore. But look, the results show for themselves. And then past that, we do see a red-green Law here. He won 1 regional, and then starter deck 13 Luffy, black-yellow Luffy. He's also won 1 only, even though he's a pretty popular deck. Then there's a blue Doflamingo that shows up here, or the 4 Doflamingos have top 16. Yeah, let's take a look at it by number of decks in representation. Right, let's see what the most popular decks are. Most popular deck is OP07 Rob Lucci, who would have guessed? And under that is Red Purple Law, who would have guessed? This ratio should still be kind of true going into 08. It might even skew more heavily towards these 2 decks. But yeah, we see Enel right under that, and then Green Bonnie, and then Bumblebee Luffy, then Gecko Moria, then Nami. Nami is quite popular now. With the lessening of popularity of Red Purple Law, a lot of Namis are showing up a lot more. She's able to actually deck herself out without being overwhelmed, right? Because every other deck here, like Lucci, Enel, Bonnie, they're slow enough, unless Bonnie finds a Zoro. Black Yellow Luffy too. So yeah, we have Reiju too. Reiju is able to show up because they're able to dodge the Red Purple Law matchup. We also see Red Green Law with a 1 of, and then Rebecca. 1 Rebecca who got 8th, and then 1 Katakuri and 1 starter deck 7 Lilman. Well, that's interesting. Really diverse meta here. But it looks like these 5 here make up the top, what I would consider like the standard meta. Everything else under it, I guess you could consider fringe, right? I consider fringe to be like Blue Doflamingo, Nami, and Gecko Moria. Everything else pretty standard. That's how I would like split them if it was a tier list, which is something I should do. That might be the next video. But yeah, going by average placement will get affected by how represented the deck is in the meta, right? The more decks there are, the more chance that a worser player could be playing it. I say worse as if that was a bad thing. These are all top 16 deck lists, top 16 players. They're all great players, very highly skilled, so do keep that in mind. And I had it in descending order, so I flipped it to ascending because lower average placement means that you're doing better. So yeah, Red Green Law has the highest average placement because the one deck that topped got first, followed by Katakuri. That is just due to the variance in the number of entries, right? One deck got fourth, so he's a fourth place on average. So let's try to look at things with like similar representation. So Nami and Gakko Moria, it looks like Nami is slightly better than Gakko Moria, 0.18 places higher. And then between Bonnie and Enel, it looks like Bonnie is doing a little better. Let's see, who else can we compare? It looks like Red Purple Law has a better win rate than Lucci, even though Lucci kind of counters Red Purple Law. That's interesting to see. And there's like a 4 deck difference, so I think that's a comparable amount of representation between these two. So yeah, now that we looked at how the meta cracks down based on placements and representation, let's look at the price of the decks, right? That's something a lot of people are interested in. So I have a tab for that too. And there has been like a really recent crashing of card prices. I don't know if you consider it a crash, but cards got a lot cheaper recently. It could be due to reprints. They've been reprinting a lot of old sets recently. And the premium booster set released too, which contained a lot more reprints too. So now is the best time to get into the game, I feel. And yeah, going by deck prices, I have it down here in this chart. You see that Enel is the most expensive deck at 382, followed by Red Purple Law at 314, and then Bumblebee Luffy, Black Yellow Luffy at 250, Gakko Moria at 244, Perona at 239, Rob Lucci at 205, and then Bonnie at 195, Katakuri at 164, Red Green Law at 141, and then Doflamingo at 134, and then Rebecca at 126. Linlin at 120, Nami at 65, so sub 100, and then Reiju at 52, Reiju being the cheapest deck you can build. And we saw that there were a couple decks that top 8'd with these two, so it's not a fluke, right? It's not a one of like Linlin and Katakuri. So if you really want like a budget option, I'd suggest Nami or Reiju. But a Nami deck plays way differently than any other deck in the meta, so a lot of the skills you're going to learn as Nami aren't going to transfer over to other leaders in case Nami does like fall out of meta in the future, so be wary of that. But $65 investment, can't complain, right? Let's take a look at some of the expensive cards in each deck. We can look at why each deck costs as much as it does. So let's take a look at Enel. So the way this dashboard is supposed to work is that you select one person's deck to see their deck list and their ratios and then the total price of the cards in their deck. But I'm just going to look at everyone's Enel deck as a whole. So you might see some duplicates on this chart here, as it's just showing everyone's ratios of the cards they have in an Enel deck. So it looks like 4 Katakuri is pretty mandatory, and that's gonna run you 202. They're $50 each. This used to be like closer to $90 each. He's almost half off, so that's why Enel is no longer a $400+ deck. Ace coming up next at $90 for a full playset, and then Yamato full playset's $26. Flampe's $20 for a full playset. The popping Luffy, Egghead Luffy, is about $26 for a full playset. And you can see some people run 3, some people run 4, so depends on your preferred ratios. Oh, someone even ran 3 Katakuri only. So yeah, that makes up a bulk of the deck. Oh, this starter deck Linlin too. Everything else seems to be under $10 for their cards. So if you're willing to invest into this 8-cost Katakuri, the Ace, and the Yamatos, Enel could be the deck for you. Let's take a look at Red Purple Law. So most expensive card in the Red Purple Law deck is Mr. 2. At 4 copies, $27 each, it's $109 total. And then under that is Gordon. 4 copies of Promo Gordon is $21.54, a lot cheaper than it used to be. That'll run you $86. And then it's Queen under that, $12 each. Oh, Queen is like way cheap now. At one point, Queen was like 30 something ish, so like a third of the value now. Reiju is also dirt cheap, even though she's such an important card for the deck. Yeah, you can see like Red Purple Law was the most expensive around early May, and he's like dropped considerably since then. Yeah, everything else in the deck is quite cheap, so it's really just the Gordons and the Mr. 2s making up the bulk of the price. You can take a look at the most expensive one here just to see why it's so expensive. This one is $334. Yeah, it's that same ratio, 4 Mr. 2, 4 Gordon, 3 Queens, and then the Kid and Killers. So actually quite the affordable deck now at $334, if you consider that affordable, that is. He's a lot cheaper than it used to be though. Up next we have Black Yellow Luffy at $252 on average. The most expensive card in your deck will be the Sabo at $25 a piece. After that it's Gakko Moria at $784 a piece. So actually pretty insanely cheap, eh? Some people run the 10 cost Kuzan, which is $14.55 each. Borsas are $14.65 each. And these are all like runnable at varying ratios. Everything else in the deck is dirt cheap. So yeah, it's just these Sabos and the Gecko Morias making up a bulk. Hiyori too, Hiyori 651. So that's Black Yellow Luffy. Let's look at Gecko Moria. It's probably the same as what Lucci will contain. Yep, it's Sabo and then Brook. Oh, Brooks are 1466 each. This is pretty high. Higher than I thought. Because he's just an SR too. A really recent SR. And then Gecko Moria 784 and Borsalino's 1465 at varying ratios. Yeah, Isho's cheap, 490. So yeah, bulk of the price is just Sabo, Brook, and Gecko Moria. Let's take a look at Perona. It should be the same. The 2 Perona decks. Yep, Sabo, Gecko Moria. Oh, Eustace Kid too, 1972. Somebody ran 3 copies of it. I don't think did both of them run it. Let's take a look. So the Geekery Store Regional one did not run 8 cost Kid, but the Core TCG one did, which is why his is a little more expensive. No, it's cheaper. Huh, what's the difference? So 3 Sabos, 3 Kids, 4 Geckos. What makes the other one more expensive? Oh, Borsalino, that's why. This guy ran 4 Borsalino, which added like 60-ish bucks. So yeah. Then Rob Lucci is the 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 cheapest deck to build actually, even though he's the most popular one. And yeah, it's Gecko Moria, Sabo, Brook. Any deck that's like part black or is like a black leader itself, they all run these cards. In my opinion, that's kind of one of the issues with black at the moment. No matter what kind of black deck you are, no matter what your leader ability is, no matter what your identity is, they all do the same shit. So yeah, I guess if you invest into these cards, you can like shift leaders pretty easily, right? You just change a little bit to fit the theming of your other black leader and then get a lot of mileage out of these cards. Let's take a look at Bonnie. So this should be, yeah, 8 cost Kid and Cavendishes. Zoro too. They run a lot of secret rares. Oh no, SR means super rare, right? Kid's a super rare, Cavendish is super rare, Doflamingo's a super rare, Hoodie's a super rare. So yeah. Despite that though, it on average it's a sub $200 deck. And the ratios of these cards could change too. Some people run less 8 cost Kids and more Zoro. Some people run more Doflamingo. Hoodie's a guaranteed 4 of, I think. And yeah, get Cavendish too, which is the most expensive package in the deck, right? 4 guaranteed is 67. And let's take a look at this singular Katakuri here. So 164 for a Katakuri deck. He used to be way more expensive when he ran 4 of the 8 cost Katakuri, but it seems like people would just run 1 now. I think you don't even have to run any. But yeah, that's the most expensive card in the deck at 50. Honestly, you're fine cutting this out too. In my opinion, I didn't top with them, so I guess you should trust Cap Gun's opinion on his 1 of than me. But yeah, other than that, starter deck 7 lemon at $12 each, 36 for 3 copies. Everything else in the deck is dirt cheap. Very affordable deck. That has kind of fallen out of meta, out of favor in the meta. Let's take a look at the singular red-green law, who did get first, and it's Cavendish, so similar to the Bonnie. And then 1 Zoro, and then everything else, yeah, starter deck cards like starter deck law, it's cheap. Cheap, cheap, cheap. Let's take a look at the blue Doflamingo. There were a couple, right? Yeah, 4 of them. So the most expensive card in that Doflamingo deck is Gecko Moria at $8.47 each, 33 for a full playset. Blocker Doflamingo at $6. Everything else is probably like $5 and under. I guess you could run this Sanji. Somebody ran 2 of them. Yeah, also a very, very cheap deck. We're approaching like the $100 range. So there's a Rebecca here. Were there more than 1? Nope, just a 8th place Rebecca. So this Rebecca ran only 2 Sabos, so it saves some money there. 3 Gecko Morias, so you save money on 1 Gecko Moria. 1 Brook, so you save money on like 2 to 3 other Brooks that other black decks use that Rebecca doesn't. 1 Borsa too. Yeah, it's just like a budget version of the other black decks, it feels like, because you're able to get away with running like lower ratios of these staples. And there's 1 Charlotte Lin, and the most expensive card in the deck is starter deck 7 Lin. Similar to Katakuri, I guess it's that 8 cost Katakuri making the difference here. This $40 difference, right? So if you cut that out from the Katakuri deck, it'll probably be like equal to this Lin deck. They run almost nearly the same cards. Then Nami is our first sub $100 deck. The most expensive card in the deck is a $6 event card, and followed by a $5.75 event card. So it's like 25-ish to get playsets of both of these. Everything else is like $1-ish, right? You can get full playsets for under $1 for a lot of the cards in this deck. And finally, we have Reiju. 2 Reijus. The most expensive card is Reiju herself, the character, at a 4 of, right? 343 for 4 copies is $13.72. I guess some people ran Queen too. Queen's pretty expensive, $12.81. Oh, somebody ran this Sanji. What does he do? It's the promo Sanji that costs $14. 1 guy ran it and he got 3rd. So Maybe there's some merit to whatever this card does. What does it do? Okay, activate main, you may trash this character. Look at the top 5 cards of your deck and place them at the top or bottom in any order. Oh, it's a 2k counter, but yeah, I guess it just helps you set up for your like back-to-back Kayas, set them into your top deck. But yeah, other than that, there's the 2k counter Sanji, $4 each. Everything else is dirt cheap, less than $1. So I hope that gives you a general idea of how much it costs to build a meta deck at the moment. That combined with the meta performance, the meta breakdown that I had in the beginning of the video, maybe that can help you decide what kind of deck to invest in. If you're looking for like the best top meta to value ratio, it seems to be like Rob Lucci at the moment. He's somewhere in the middle, but he's the most represented deck, right? So for $200, you can get up and going with a blinged out, well not blinged out, minimum rarity Rob Lucci deck. You're able to perform and not break the bank. If you're investing in Enel, if you take a look back at Enel, yeah, he did win 3 tournaments and he got top 8 10 times in all of the 07 regionals. He's pretty well represented, so that would be a deck worth investing in. That justifies his 382 average price, right? If it was expensive and he didn't do well, then like a Perona. Perona costs more than Lucci, but she doesn't perform as well as Lucci, so stuff like that I would avoid. But honestly, I'd say Enel, Law, Luffy, Gecko Moria, Lucci, Bonnie, these cards or these decks are worth their price. And in regards to the longevity of the cards, a lot of these leaders will remain strong into 08. Enel kind of falls out of favor, so you have to be a little wary of that. But Reputable Law, definitely, it's going to stay relevant. All the cards you're going to buy from him are going to stay relevant. Luffy, likewise, his deck barely changes going into 08. I don't think it changes at all, so you'll be playing the same deck and he still does pretty well. Gecko Moria, I think he got less popular in the East, but the West still likes him, so I think he's still a strong deck. Anything that Lucci gets, Gecko Moria can also utilize, so the fact that Lucci is like the number 2 deck in the East right now in 08 means that Gecko Moria will still be worth it to run, in my opinion. And then Bonnie, I do think with the introduction of Jack in 08, Bonnie has a hard time countering Lucci, which is like kind of her like strong point at the moment. So maybe Bonnie's a little wary, right? You may only get value out of Bonnie for the rest of 07, but who knows? Maybe the West is better at green decks than the East. And yeah, that's all I have for this video. And again, if you guys want access to this dashboard to look at yourself, sort by yourself, look at the like price trends and everything, look at all these people's deck lists too, you can get access to it by being a Market Tier patron on my Patreon. And yeah, again, if you have people who are like unsure of what decks to invest in, please link them to this video. Let them know that there is a resource. I put a lot of work into this dashboard and making this video, so I would hate for it to not be referenced when people ask this question again and again, right? The answer is here. Just people don't know that this video exists for some reason. I've been doing a couple of these too throughout the time I have been on YouTube, but yeah, I guess I'm more known for my gameplay videos than my like data collection, data wrangling, data mining, and like data analysis videos, but it's here. This is my advantage over other YouTubers, I guess, with my data background. Okay, thanks for watching. If you're not subscribed already, please subscribe, or if you hate me, then don't subscribe, but thank you for being here anyway. I love you. Bye.
Car D Kaizoku.